is sharp. If it's not, forget it, find another image, okay? Because like I said, the purpose of this is to really have a sharp focus, okay? So you want to be able to zoom in 100% and still have very sharp. See how like the eye's much sharper. All right. I'm gonna crop a little bit here. In here, I'm gonna do all of the coloring and the dodging and burning in the Photoshops, okay? But let's take a look at the example. And we're gonna kind of edit in this kind of style, okay? First, your exposure should be already good, but I would pull the highlight up here. See, just a little bit. So you just take a highlight of whatever that is here, not by much, just pull it up, okay? I would try, so if you already auto white balance it, you can try it here. In this case, this is probably already white balance to the image, so I'm gonna leave it alone. For clarity, right? Sometimes in a portrait, if you pull it all the way up, it makes the shadow looks a little bit sharper. Example, see how I pull it in a little bit? Show you. So you don't want to pull all the way. In the portrait, I say pull anything under 20 for clarity, okay? And that's it. I'm gonna do the rest in Photoshop, and then make sure right here is Pro Photo, just in case you want to print it. Remember, you want to build it up big before it's small. Leave that as whatever megapixel that is. This, I think the number is 4 or something.
480.
Yeah. So give yourself that little things. Hit OK, and then hit open. So first, I would not, you don't need to do retouch if you don't want to. But you can do a tiny bit if you want to. So I would copy the new layer and do the retouch. Now there's a whole way of doing retouch,
I want to see how you do it.
Okay, so let me show you the way that I do it, which is the whole process. You ready?
Because mine's a whole process. I want to see how you do it.
Okay, so for skin retouch, so when you do, when you just copy and paste, like see, like this is the clone tool. When you just clone something,
It's not gonna.
hold on one second. Okay, so when you clone something, what you're doing is you're just copying area and put it on top, right?
Right.
So you don't want to do that. And when you healing brush it, is that so the healing brush is right here. The healing brush is, there's 2 of them. One of them is like a spot healing. So when it's spot, just think about anything that is small, tiny,
Like a
little
pimple or
circle,
something.
right? So what it does is you taking an area, when you click on it, Photoshop is smart enough to take whatever it go on top of it. But it's still, the key thing is, this is too big. It has to be something tiny like that. That's why retouch is so like time consuming. You have to retouch technically at 100%, right? So you have to kind of zoom in. Another thing is healing brush. So healing brush is the same thing, but you have to hold down options and you have to tell where that source is. So like if this is the source, so you sample that and you cover it. So you see how Photoshop is taking that source from there to go on top of there, right? Now,
So it doesn't mess with any texture on the
that's
skin.
not a way, Emily,
I'm sorry.
That's not a way to retouch because all of these are just texture, right? You copying texture over. So the way to do it is separate the texture from the color to edit. So the way to do that is you have two layer. The bottom layer, you call it color. The top layer, you call it texture. Okay, and then you turn off the color, turn off the texture. Under the color layer, you go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And you blur it up, it depends on the skin, like how much, where that texture you want to blur. So this number right here is depend on your image. You want to blur it till you don't see the texture anymore.
Doesn't that blur out the whole entire photo?
Yes. So you're blurring the whole entire image. Now you separating, what you're doing, you're separating the texture and the color. That's what you're doing. You'll see when it's done. So this is color. Now you go on top for the textural layers, you go to image, apply image. And now you're going to apply that texture back into that color layer. Okay, and for the blending mode, it's gonna be subtracts. This is gonna be 128. Yep. And then on the coloring mode, you're going to linear light. Now, it looked like nothing happened. It looked like the regular image, right?
Right.
But now it's already separated. This is the color, that's the texture.
Gotcha.
And that's the recipe.
Okay.
You do it like that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, let's start at, now it's gonna make sense, I'll show you. So now look at these. These, if someone have like a bag under their eye, right? Instead of, you can't get rid of the texture because that don't look right. So you do color first. So I would turn off, so you can do, you turn off the texture. I know it's blur, but you see the color different.
Yeah.
So what you can do is trying to blend that color together. So I'm doing a healing brush. So I'm sampling, I'm blending,
Oh, I'm seeing it now. Okay.
but wait. So I'm blending the color. Okay, now if I turn the texture back on, let me show you.
Oh, wow.
So see how it get rid of the texture, but the color it don't look
It's
fake
not fake, yeah.
at all.
Oh.
It just smooths it out.
Wow.
You see, if you don't do it that way, if you just did it with that one layer, okay, like let's say, forget what I just did and I did through directly on this layer, it's gonna look different.
Yeah.
Like for example, I'll
It's
show
gonna
you.
look unnatural. almost.
Yes, it's gonna look, I'll show you. So, I'm just duplicating that just to show you. So let's say I did do the color separation and just work directly on here. Now it's doing both. You see, it's doing
Lighting and
it's
texture.
doing texture and color.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense,
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, you do it like that.
right? But the hard part, that's just a technique, that's just a recipe. The hard part is every images look different. So now I gotta look in here to see like, and that's why real retoucher make like $100
so much money.
an hour for one image. So
Yes.
look, so here, now I close the texture. Now I gotta look, okay, where is that blend is happening, right? So I'm coming to color. where's that blend that I'm doing. So I'm gonna come over here, healing brush. Wait, something is wrong. Did I do something
You're
wrong?
sampling from another area.
Okay. There's no quick way of doing that. Okay. Another thing I can do, I'll show you. So you see how darker this area is? I can come here, take a clone tool, go to lighten, low all the way this down, like below 5. And then I can sample the lighter. Come up a little bit. That's how you get like rid of back under people's eye without, maybe I'll just stick in this area so it makes more sense.
Holy
Oh,
shit.
Yeah, okay.
See how the
Wow.
color is blending in a lot better now?
Right.
Yeah.
And they will never, they're never
will
gonna
never
know
notice
that
the
they're being
difference.
retouched.
Right.
Because it just looks so flawlessly,
Holy
Right.
shit.
That's
Yeah.
how you get that smooth look.
right? So right here, you see how the color different?
Yeah.
Like her makeup versus right here. So I'm gonna close that, come back in here. I'm gonna do a couple of things. First, I'm gonna go, first I'm gonna go healing brush first. Actually, my brush is too big anyway. I gotta go smaller brush.
Or like lower opacity or just.
No, it's not my brush. You have the detail.
Gotcha.
Another way I could do is I'm gonna put another layer in between that empty layer. I'm gonna take a brush, like maybe 2%, 3%. And I'm gonna sample that. Gonna paint that in. Okay, let's take a look.
Holy shit. Oh my god.
This is why retouchers make so much money.
Literally. Oh my god.
Just that one area can
Right.
take hours.
Could you do it one more time?
You see, like you see it.
Right.
I mean, and it's okay. I mean, again, I would not retouch this. This is like retouched like for, right? So let me just do it. Okay, no, real quick. Another way. So that's 2-way, right? Another way which I can do too is again, I'm trying to blow some of the texture away to blend it in a little bit better. What I can do too is take a selection under color. I'm gonna, let's example, select this area because I can see that there's some color problem. I'm gonna feather that to 20%, 20 pixels, sorry. And then I'm gonna go to filter, blur, and I'm Gaussian blur that. See that?
Yeah.
It just kind of smooths it.
Soften
Yeah.
that a little bit,
Mm.
right? Again, always on and off so I can see it, what I did so far.
Interesting. yeah.
So, my best way of doing this is, I see that area, that's not not even a quick, I'm not even gonna do that, because the best way is to do this. Put on some good music. I'm gonna do it really quick, okay? Smaller brush, can't use big brush because you want to sample a small area, sample the area around it. So if this is that color, you sample right there. Okay, I'm gonna do really quick and just. So when I retouch, I don't use the mouse. I use the scented pen, like the pen pad, so it go a lot faster. Okay. For this,
No, if
okay.
it's something you want to get into, I recommend that product. Like you buy the pen and everything. That's my next big girl purchase.
You got it.
Last big girl purchase was a flash.
Yeah.
Okay. You can try this in your image if you want to. You don't have to. You don't have to do it. Okay. See, I'm just sampling. You see how the color different. I'm just right here. I'm gonna use this cone tool, lighten, smaller brush. Okay, I'm doing super messy right now. Okay, but you get the point.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so
Okay.
insane.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane. Oh my god.
So they don't look if you touch it all.
Right.
Right, I'll just do one more and then that's it. Okay.
Yeah, right between our eyebrows. Get in there, Mimi.
So here, this is a good example. These are color. You see, those are not texture.
Right.
See?
Right.
Mm.
But then, see the texture is still here. The color is gone because you work under the color problem.
So we're never working with the texture, or are we?
You're working with the color.
The color.
Right
So-
now, we're not in texture layer
Because the
yet.
two are merging,
Yeah.
so technically you're not touching the texture ever. You're just touching the color.
Gotcha.
So you keep the color.
Gotcha.
So you never lose that highlight or the tone of her skin or anything.
And the texture layer just keeps the texture over top
Yes,
of it. Okay.
exactly.
Gotcha.
Got
So
it.
now I'm doing the color, like still doing color. Now, you wonder, so Mimi, what is the texture layer for? The texture layer is for texture. So anything that is texture, you come up here. So now I'm on the texture layer, okay? Now on texture layer, when you go to a clone, make sure you go back, normal. I would load the opacity as well. But what had happened, remember we blur that texture layer? So whenever you sample it, you see it blurs it. So, I don't know if you can see it. I put just a little bit. So some of the area, if you want to blur it a little bit, you can. If you're putting it at 100%, I would do healing brush in the texture and only, remember this guy right here. See, this guy is a texture problem, right? Not problem, but texture. So you come over here, smaller brush, sample, coming over. So then that's the texture is gone. You see? Here, texture, right? Here, see, I can't do it because it's color problem. So maybe what I'm doing here, come back here to the color. There. Then come back to the texture. So it's both. Do you see?
Gotcha.
Right? Okay, so let's pretend
You do it differently than I do, but I like that.
I'm done, right? So when I'm done, do you see this right here? I grouped it. That's my skin,
Yeah.
right?
How did you group it? Could you show us that again?
So you select it and Command G.
So Control G.
Command G.
G, Control G.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Gotcha.
good, got it.
So now what I do is I select both the bottom and the top, right? And I go, my favorite, Shift Option Command E. I put the edit on top.
Gotcha.
Shift, Option, Command, Control, E.
Got it?
Cool.
Yes?
Yes.
And now I'm gonna do my color. So I have different type of things with colors. So with color, what you can do is you can do the dodging and burning first. So let's do that. Let's do curve. So you see here, as the image, you see how it's bright here and it's still darker here, right?
Right.
So right here, you come over here, first layer is on the, you can do the highlight first. So I take my middle, pull it all the way up, not all the way, that's my highlight, right? And then I would invert that. And then I would just paint in my highlight. Make sure that's
White.
do this when you finish your retouch already. So find where your highlight is. See how it brings that much depth
Yeah.
Yeah.
to the picture, right? Now we do another one. Now we do our shadows. See, I'm just pulling it right there. I'm gonna invert it again. So for this one, I think I wanted this to be dark, the background. Actually, I might do another one for the background. Okay. Now, when I already do my, see this is, I'm gonna group that as well. This is my dodging and burning.
Gotcha.
Interesting. Okay.
See how like,
Wow. How much depth pulls
yeah.
out.
And
Right.
again, you can put a curve through the whole thing when you're done. I'm gonna pull it up just a tiny bit. There you go. This is for the whole thing, but my dodging and burning is still there.
Right.
And again, your image is gonna look different. Another thing I really like is when I have color like that. So when I finish all the dodging and burning, I want to make sure that my color looking right. So I copy the layer. So I have 2 layers. The top layer, I can go to mode, adjustment, black and white. Okay. And on the black and white, I pull down the red and the yellow. And then for the color mode, I go to, I think, multiple. Yes, multiple. Or level. So you can do either. You can do level. You can do overlay or I like multiple. And that way it pull out some of the red.
Gotcha. I see.
You see, only 10%.
I see.
So see how it pulled the
Yeah.
really orangey red
Right.
down
Right.
a little bit more.
Yeah.
That color edit looks a lot better. Yeah. Oh, one more thing. If you don't have crazy shallow depth, copy 2 layer, filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I would blur it out more. So obviously not the eyes, right? I don't want that.
That's good.
I actually just want the hair or the background to be
Blurred.
Yep. So see that what that layer doing is right here. See, it blurs it a little bit
Yeah.
so that your eye focus in here.
Cool.
So after all said and done, your color should be color. You don't see how you started is there. When you're done, you pull it. It all pull up.
That's insane. Holy shit.
Yay.
Yay.
Okay. So practice again. Make sure you save the Photoshop so I can see the before and after. Just practice.